Home is what connects us all, and nobody knows home like NFM. Thanks for joining us for I Am Home, the podcast that goes deeper than simply design trends and connects you to the people, projects, and ideas that help you make your house a home.
Tyler Weiskup here from NFM headquarters with Becca Sudbeck, Brand and Creative General Manager.
Hi, Tyler.
Hey, Becca. And Hillary Waltemath, Visual Display General Manager.
Hey.
Hey, Hillary. And today we are thrilled to bring you an episode featuring some of our NFM home team athletes. These are really cool partnerships that we've created with college athletes in anything from equestrian to rowing and the classics like football and basketball and more. But before we get to that, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast, and that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. Learn more at nfm.com. And we are on with Dani Latimer. Hey, Dani, glad to have you on.
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, we're excited as well. And let's tell the people a little bit about you before we get started. Dani is an equestrian with SMU. Throughout her college career, she's claimed 10 most outstanding players, which is an all-time record for the program, which is amazing. You have won multiple riding awards, including the NCEA Reining Rider of the Year, 2 first-team All-American honors, and then 2 Team USA qualifications for the Olympics. I'm excited to get into that and much more. You are a senior. You are majoring in sports management marketing. And I've ridden like 2 horses in my life, and ridden is kind of a generous term for it. So, Dani, I'd love to know how you got into the sport.
Well, so I was born into a family of horse trainers in reining specifically. I was raised on a ranch in Oklahoma, so I was always around horses growing up, and it didn't take any talking into. I was always out there riding and learning and loving the sport. So that eventually has grown into a college scholarship and going overseas and huge opportunities. So
That's amazing. Well, Dani, for those of us that don't know, could you maybe explain to us how competitive equestrian works?
Sure. So I'm in a sport called reining, which is a Western discipline. So we've got the cowboy hats, the Western saddles, and how we like to describe reining is kind of like ice skating, but on a horse. So you have like large, fast circles, small, tight circles. We have spins, and then reining is really well known for our horses. They run and stop and slide on their hind legs. And the sport, it's very intense. It's very intricate, and we're judged, the horse and rider, together on how well the rider guides the horse through a pattern.
I think I've seen some of that on Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah. I would imagine that's kind of terrifying too. I mean, probably not for you, but.
No, not for me. I kind of don't have that choice to be scared of it anymore.
Yeah,
but
right.
But it's fun to get to know.
Yeah, for sure. So we understand that it's not necessarily your own horse, right? Is that correct?
Correct. For the college, we ride horses. If we go to a different school, we ride the horses they have there. And then at home, we have like the home team advantage where we can ride our own horses that we practice on a day-to-day basis. But as far as the collegiate side, we do not ride our own horses.
Okay. So when do you find out what horse you've got? Do you get any like history or information on the horse, or is it kind of a surprise when you get there?
So it's a random draw that they do in the morning or sometimes the night before the competition. And we'll get a sheet describing the horse, like some of the traits that horse has, what they recommend, like we can do versus what we maybe shouldn't do with that specific horse. And then before we show that horse, we get exactly 4 minutes to ride that horse, kind of figure some stuff out, and then we go and show.
4 minutes?
Yeah, why 4 minutes? Like, do you have any idea where that number
5
came
is
from?
Way too generous.
Yeah,
so.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, 5 is too much. They weren't cool with 5. But no, 4 minutes, I'm not exactly sure where it kind of, with the college deal, sometimes doing less on these horses is more.
Okay.
Like when you go and show just maybe the less you do with them, the happier they are or the more trusting they are of you. So 4
Interesting.
minutes, I think, is where they found like a happy medium. Well, they can get what they need to done, but not overdo it in a sense,
Okay.
if that is
Interesting.
understandable. Yeah.
So how does scoring work? Like, how do you win?
So on a day, like on normal meets, we usually have one judge, and the reining is judged on a series of maneuvers on a scale of -1.5, which is not good, to +1.5, which is excellent. So that scale goes, so a 0 is right in the middle, which is good, and then it either goes up or down.
But
So
there's
when
like
we
only
walk
3
in-
points.
No, so there's
Like
usually
in between
like
a 1.5.
six-
I mean,
there's like 6 to 8 maneuvers.
Okay.
oh, each
So-
one of them gets judged
Yes,
with that -1.5 to 1.5. Okay.
Yes. So each maneuver gets a score on that scale, and then at the
Okay.
end there's a total.
Yes.
Every horse and rider walks in or runs in with a 70. We start at a 70, and you either
Nice.
go up from the 70, stay at the 70, or you go down from the 70.
So it's so
And
interesting.
in college, so there's 5 horses, 10 riders total, 5 from SMU, 5 from whatever school we're going against. And the draw is random. So 2 girls will show the same horse twice. And whoever gets the higher score wins the point for the overall meet for our team.
Wow.
So
That's
how-
pretty intense. And I've seen on your like resume, like some pretty high numbers, like in the score department. I mean, like, you know, the 230s and like up from there. So like, is there, like, is that a pretty natural point range for people to end up on during an event, like a typical event that you would do?
So my highest score was a 223.5, and that was at last year's NCEA National Championship. But instead of one judge, there are 5 judges there judging us. So
Yeah.
all of their scores are added up, and then the highest score and the lowest score gets dropped, and that's your total.
Got it.
So I marked a 223.5 with the high score dropped and the low score dropped.
Wow.
That's pretty
So-
incredible. Yeah. Just starting from a 70 with like 1 and 2s. I mean, that's over the course of a whole event, and especially like when you're traveling and not knowing the horses and you don't have that home team advantage. And I saw again,
Right.
you've been able to win some competitions outside of the home team. So that congrats.
for
That's
sure.
amazing. And
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking of, I know that we kind of listed off some of your accomplishments, including the Olympics, but I'd love to know kind of what's your best drop the mic moment when it comes to reining and riding, and just something that kind of sticks out as a memory is like, oh, this is when I just was owning. I don't know if you call it the ring. Is that the right term?
Yeah, you can call it the ring, the show pin, it all
Show
it
pin?
all means
Okay.
the same.
Yeah.
So my probably the most recent memory for me would actually be from the national championship this past spring. I actually, despite it being a random draw, I drew the same horse that I showed last year in the 2021 that I marked a 223.5 on. I showed him again this spring at the national championships, and I marked a 220.5 on him, which was again the high score for the second year in a row. And that horse was actually very special to my family because my dad had him before he was donated as a college horse. My dad had him as a derby horse, which is like an aged event horse outside of college.
Whoa.
As a young horse, he had him in his training program and then sold him. But I was a little kid, of course, then, because his name is Boss. He's from OSU, and he's 17 years old as a performance show horse. And that's pretty old for a reining horse to be still so highly competitive, marking those scores. And he just showed so wonderful for me. It was just a very special moment because he was with me every step of the way, and it was just super fun. The crowd was very loud. They were all rooting for us, and to go in and him show the way he did and mark what we did, it was a really unique moment. So
Oh, I have goosebumps
that's
from
so
that.
cool.
That's so special.
it was really special. usually good with handling my emotions after I show, whether it's good or bad, because of course not everything's good. But that run, I was like, he just was so honest for me, and I had him twice, so he'd already been shown once hard, and I had him second. So
Okay. Yeah. How could you not be emotional after that?
yeah, it was just really cool. It was really neat. So
Okay, so we're curious, especially when you're in season, what's your typical day like?
So right now we are in meet week, actually. So our first competition of the year is this Saturday. We're traveling to OSU, who's this year's national champions. So we're all pretty focused, wanting to stay cool, calm, and collected, but also know like what we're going up against. So this week I'll be riding all 5 days. So Monday through Friday up until we leave Friday afternoon. And we have workouts Tuesday, Thursday. Tomorrow will probably be like a gruesome workout. And then Thursday, they'll take it a little easier on us, maybe some yoga, just something to get our bodies and minds mentally ready for the weekend. And then, of course, classes. We go to classes in the morning. But my days are pretty easy right now as a senior. I have classes in the morning. Then I ride, and then I have a free afternoon to do whatever I'd like to do, which typically involves more riding. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Well, tell us about the workouts. I'm interested.
What's gruesome?
Yeah.
Well, so we work out like normal. Sometimes people don't necessarily consider equestrians athletes in a way, because until you fully understand what we're doing, people typically assume like it's the horse who does all of the work, and they do the physical part for sure, but they couldn't do it without our guidance. And it also takes a lot of core strength and muscle memory to do what we do on these horses. So sometimes workouts are like, well, what do you guys actually do? But we lift and we run and we do a bunch of strength training. So it's kind of like your normal workout, but tomorrow we'll probably run a lot. and sometimes that can be gruesome. It depends if you like running or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine you have to just be really well-rounded in all of that, because I think like it looks so fluid and smooth when you see it like on Yellowstone or TV, but that's like, I mentioned earlier we had horses growing up and it was just for leisure. It was not for sport, but like,
Right.
it is not easy. Like,
No,
it looks like you just hop on and you just go, and that's not at all the case.
Right. You don't have to look in shape to ride a horse, but you
Mhm.
definitely want to be, especially if you want to be highly competitive. There is like what we call it horse riding shape, where you're in shape to ride multiple horses a day, back to back, or go and perform high, intense maneuvers on these horses. So you definitely want to be feeling your best. And at SMU, they take really good care of us. We have like athletic trainers and strength coaches who, if we need treatment, we can go get treatment, like our back worked on, chiropractic, anything and everything we need. They go above and beyond to keep us feeling the best. And same with our horses. They're athletes also, and they get anything and everything they need as well.
Good, as they should.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you get to be involved with the care of the horses, or is that just kind of like taken out of your hands?
No, so every year we're assigned a care horse for the year, a horse that we're in charge of. We don't have to ride that horse every day, but by the end of the week, we're in charge of bathing that horse, making sure that horse, the feet are all well taken care of, and the horse seems healthy, temperature good. If they have any like little blemishes, it's on us to take care of, or let somebody of a higher ranking know, like the veterinarian, the coaches, whoever needs to know about that horse. So, but our horses are very well taken care of. Our team does a great job of making sure all of the horses are well taken care of and feeling their best.
Yeah. How big is the team of people who care for the horses? I mean, you talked about veterinarians.
Well, so the girls, SMU, our team, we have about 35 girls. So we are a smaller team compared to other schools who have maybe 65 girls.
Oh, wow.
But when you have a smaller team like us, you kind of have a better idea of what's going on and who's looking after what. And so the barn, we have 2 or 3 veterinarians that work with us. We have a chiropractor who comes a couple times a week or a couple weeks whenever she's needed. And the vets are always around, the farriers. And what's nice is the farriers and the vets, they can work together. So like if a horse has a problem in his hoof or needs shoot a specific kind of way, the vet can look at it and say, I would recommend this kind of shoe. And then the farrier can work with the vet and they can get the proper shoeing done on that horse. And it all just ties in together really nicely for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Dani, you mentioned that, you grew up, like horse training was in your blood, is there something you remember about the first thing you learned or your first thing your parents taught you?
Oh man, that's a good question. What I was taught at a young age right off the bat is the horse always comes first. So I remember being little, riding in the summers out in the heat or early in the mornings whenever we would need to ride. I remember I'd always want to come in the barn and I'd want to get a drink of water myself first. But my dad always was on me. The horse comes first. You unsaddle your horse first. You hose them off. You make sure they get a drink first. Then you tend to your needs. And that's always been kind of implemented in my life and my routine when it comes to the horses. The horse always comes first for me. I always put the horse first, whether it's the health or, if they have something going on or if they feel off. I take care of that before anything that I need or want.
This may sound like a nerdy question, but what do you think your dad was trying to teach you by doing that?
Responsibility, for sure.
Yeah.
Just, animal care. They do a lot for us. These horses, they're out there and, when things work out, they can change your lives. One horse show can change somebody's life. And it's very important to make sure that you're going above and beyond for them when they're doing their hardest, trying their hardest for you on a day-to-day basis. And they're only going to perform their best if we're treating them the way they deserve to be treated. And as animals, it's important, animal welfare. That's super important to me. So
yeah, and it's something that can't necessarily communicate their needs. If it's something you're feeling, like your instinct should be to worry about them or worry about that for them too. So
yeah, horses can't just tell you like, hey, I'm not feeling good. It's up to the rider. They can show us in many ways, but it's up to the rider or whoever's around those horses that day to notice that and be
aware of it. Yeah,
there's something wrong. Yeah.
What a great lesson.
I love it. Well, this may be a weird question, but what's something, because it may be weird because you come and you seem to be in this track of being around people who are around horses, but what's something that your parents used to do growing up that seemed totally normal at the time, but seems weird today?
Something weird. That's a good question. I've never been asked that before.
This is our curveball question.
Yeah.
Did you have that aha moment once you went to, I imagine it was a pretty rural area in Oklahoma, then going to Dallas and meeting more people? Was there something you're like, oh, that is not how it was where I grew up?
It's definitely different. The school, I come from a small town, of course. So the school that I graduated from is way smaller than SMU, but SMU's small itself also, but it's that much bigger than my high school was. And luckily, I was pretty familiar with Dallas before I committed down here because I don't live that far away. So we'd come down here for events or dinners, whatever. But yeah, it's different than living on your ranch out in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
so,
I imagine.
But the curveball question, y'all threw me for a curve. I don't know.
Well, something comes back. We can circle back around. But
yeah, I'll think about that.
Yeah. And some of the questions that we get sometimes, like, or some of the answers that we get to the question, like, their family used to like harmonize and like family sing-alongs after dinner, like, and
Or
they
there was
would,
that person that their dad picked them up in a
Always in
Santa
a Santa
suit
suit,
every
yes.
time from the airport.
yeah.
Oh my
So it's
gosh,
like
that's
weird
a good
oddball
one.
things that your
Uh-huh.
parents just did that you're like, whoa, this is
Mashed potato boats. Do you
Yeah.
remember somebody's dad? It was famous dinner was mashed potato boats, and it was like pre-made mashed potatoes with a hot dog.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And she's like, I don't understand. You've never heard of mashed potato boats? So yeah, we've had some weird ones. So we like
Well,
to we like to
maybe
see.
when I was little, so I used to pretend I was a horse, of course. I mean,
Sure,
what else
of
would I
course.
be?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would be a reining horse on like my hands and knees in our living room. So anytime we would have people over, like clients or friends, whoever, well, my parents just thought it was the best idea to have me perform my reining maneuvers in front of all of these people. So maybe, looking back now, it's like, I wonder why they had me do that. But maybe it helps me, now I can sit here and talk to y'all without thinking anything is weird because I used to do that in front of who knows how many people.
Okay.
So that's not your party trick, like your current party trick?
I mean, I'm sure I could bring it out if it really like.
You should.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should.
I don't know.
I
It's been a
encourage
while
that.
since I've done that.
See if you still got it.
Now, Dani, I feel like your story will be among the ones that we tell now. When
Yes.
We're like trying to help people out,
Uh-huh.
answer the question.
Be
I love
Santa,
that.
mashed potato boats, and
A
reining
reining
horse. Yep.
Reining horse in front of people.
Strangers.
Many of people.
Well, Dani, this is a podcast all about home. So one of the things we're always curious about is, what do you remember most about the house that you grew up in? Is it like the paint, the furniture? I mean, you clearly rode horses, so I imagine like the grounds are probably ingrained in your memory. Can you kind of speak to that?
Yeah, so my house is definitely decorated with memories of showing not only my accolades but my parents as well. So
Sure.
there's awards and photos and horses that impacted their lives before I was even born throughout my house, and we've got like the rustic westerny feel throughout the house, so that's always a comfort to me. So of course my apartments in Dallas kind of reflects my home.
Nice.
I like the westerny, the rustic feel, and I also, living on a ranch, there's a lot of nature, so I enjoy nature. So like on my new TV that I just got through Nebraska Furniture Mart, I have like the nature scenes up where I can look at like the woods, the little slideshow,
Yeah.
the trees, and whatever I want to see. So that's kind of nice, and being able to relate to that while I'm in Dallas, I still feel like I'm at home in a sense.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you first decided to decorate your own bedroom? Because I mean, at some point somebody had to do it for you, but then you got to make the decision yourself. Do you have a memory of what you first did?
It was probably like at 3 a.m. one of those nights. When I was little, I would always, if I wanted to make a change to my room, I'd always do it at the craziest hours. And sometimes like I'd be hammering a picture into the wall or something that I probably shouldn't have been doing, but wake my parents up, they'd come and be like, what are you doing? But usually it was like I would put a bunch of different, when I was little, I'd put horse posters, again, how surprising.
Yeah. On brand.
All throughout my room of like my favorite reining stallions. That's what I would have all over my room. And so that was something I would always do, or move my bed around to. Man, I'm going to sound like such a horse girl, but
It's okay.
I used to have tons of Breyer horses, like the model horses.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh, I loved those.
I did too.
Yes, I was a huge collector. Huge
You
collector.
just unlocked a memory.
Yeah, so I would make ranches with all my Breyers and their barns and everything. So I would move my room around to accommodate to my Briar Horse Ranch.
Horses come first, just like Dad
Yeah.
said.
I feel like you learned that
Exactly.
lesson loud and clear.
Yeah, you didn't have any other choice. Horses come
No.
first.
Exactly. And whether they were Briar horses or real life
Or real-
breeding.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you still have your collection, or
I do. Yeah, I do still have them all. My mom, I saw where you could sell them for quite a lot of money. And my mom was like, well, maybe you want to hold on to them for your future endeavors and whatnot. And I said, okay. Well, so I still have them. Yeah. They're all in
Good
my
advice,
attic
Mom.
right now.
I think that is good advice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is.
you can bring them to your apartment maybe, and then just, I mean,
Mm.
I think
Make
it could be
a
fun to bring
ranch
out the
there.
ranch again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that y'all are unlocking a bunch of memories for me too. Stuff that I used to do all the time.
Uh-huh.
So I'm curious. So what's the first thing you do when you get home after a really long day?
Well, if it's from the barn, I usually have a shower right off the bat because
Naturally.
smelling like barn horses,
Mm-hmm.
you don't recognize it until you're not in the barn anymore, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I need to bathe right now. But I'll do that, and then I'll make something to eat. And as a college student, I need to do schoolwork, whatever needs to be done. But then I love watching shows. Like if there's a good series, I'll binge it insane. I love watching a good show or a series. So that's kind of what I'll typically do.
Yeah, we're getting into good TV season too. Lots of shows coming
Yes.
back.
I love this time of
Yes.
year.
back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Me too.
really good.
Well, this has been a really fun conversation. We do have to start wrapping things up, though. So I have a final super deep question for you. This episode's going to come out sometime around Halloween. What Halloween movie do you most identify with, and why? Super deep question.
Maybe I don't want to say I'm scary like Michael Myers, but Michael Myers likes to walk everywhere at a certain pace. And that's kind of how I am. I like to just move at my own pace of things. I always get stuff done, but I'm never running to get it done. But, he just walks everywhere and he still gets to everybody.
On a
Still gets
mission.
what he wants.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where I would relate
That's
to.
clever.
That
That's
is.
clever.
That's
I
a
like
good
it.
lesson
That's a
from
great
Michael
answer.
Myers.
Yeah.
I didn't think about his pacing
See,
prowess.
there's a bright side to everything.
But
He
yeah,
just
that's, I
walks
mean,
everywhere.
right. And he, like you said, he still gets the job done. So that's a
Yeah.
good lesson to sign us off on. Dani, this has been so fun talking with you and getting to know you a little bit more. How can people stay connected with you, the NFM home team endeavors that you've got going on, all that?
Well, I'm on social media, of course. I can give you guys my handles. Is that how
Yeah.
that would work?
Please do.
Instagram, DL Reining Horses, and then Twitter, Facebook. They're both Dani Latimer, and I stay pretty up to date with everything on there. And you can follow college experiences and riding and whatever's going on in my life. Typically, is on my social media as far as riding and with the
I can
NFM
speak
home
to
team.
the Instagram stuff, like the pictures of horses that if you want to just see a good like rodeo-esque like stuff, like, oh my gosh, there's so many, so beautiful, like
Thank
great
you.
stuff.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you.
Well, and I want to thank everyone who's listening at home and encourage you to go to nfm.com to learn more about our company and shop 24/7 for today's top furnishing styles. We'll be back again soon with another episode. Till then, remember, home is what you make it. Tyler Weiskup here from NFM headquarters with Becca Sudbeck, Brand and Creative General Manager.
Hi, Tyler.
Hey, Becca. And Hillary Waltemath, Visual Display General Manager.
Hey.
Hey, Hillary. And today we are thrilled to bring you an episode featuring some of our home team athletes. These are really cool partnerships we've created with college athletes in anything from equestrian to rowing. And then we've got the classics like football, basketball, and more. But before we get to that, let me tell you why we're even doing this podcast. And that's because NFM is more than just your everything home store. We're in the business of improving lifestyles because your home life should be your best life. Learn more at nfm.com. And we're on with Jaecee Hall. Hey, Jaecee, glad to have you on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, let's tell the people a little about you. Jaecee.
Sorry.
If you don't mind, I'll give you a little introduction.
Yeah.
And then
That's
you can add on to it.
awesome.
Because I'm sure I'm only going to scratch the surface here.
Yeah, we'll see how he does. He's a pretty good researcher.
Well, Jaecee, you are a rower with the Iowa Hawkeyes. You won races at Harvard, Ohio State, and more. You are an academic all Big Ten person as well. You're a junior. You're majoring in psychology with a minor in international relations. And Jaecee, I don't think I've ever met a rower before. How did you get into the sport?
Yeah, so I actually played soccer in high school. Did not row, didn't know anything about rowing.
Okay.
And a lot of the Midwest programs have like at Iowa, we call it homegrown Hawkeye. And it's like a talent transfer program. So essentially you come in and you do a tryout and they're looking for athletic people where they can teach them how to row. So I did the tryout and then ended up making it onto the team.
Oh, wow.
Got taught how to row my freshman year. And so now this will be my third year rowing. So yeah, it's really cool because you go from never have done the sport in your life to ending up and competing at Big Tens your freshman year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. And I mean, there's like a lot of skills that are transferable. So that's kind of a genius approach.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. Really, the only thing you're like learning is, you have the work ethic, you have the athleticism. It's just learning how to row.
Technique. Yeah. Which is certainly a taught thing. So
yeah,
good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Speaking of, Jaecee, can you tell us a little bit about how rowing works? So if people aren't familiar with the sport, what does this season look like? How do you get points? Like just kind of walk us through.
Yeah. So our racing season is spring season. In the fall, we do head races, more so like 5Ks. And then racing season is 2Ks. So you're going 2,000 meters down a race course straight as fast as you can, as hard as you can. Essentially, so there's different boat classes. So for NCAA, it's the 2 varsity 8s, which is 8 people in a boat. Okay. And then the first varsity 4, which is 4 people in a boat. And then you have the coxswains, who are the ones who speak through the race. So then you have 9 people in the boat and 5 people in the boat, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, we race in the spring, travel all around. Yeah, it's really fun, really exciting. You do lots of traveling at Iowa, especially because everywhere you have to race has to be warm, basically. I mean, you have to have water.
Yeah,
not frozen water.
I mean, where do
That's
you practice on a machine or like in actual water?
Yeah, so at Iowa we row, like practice every day on the Iowa River. It's probably about, I would say, a 4 to 5K stretch. So we just go up and down it. A typical practice is probably about 16K. And then in the winter, which would be roughly November until February or March, we're inside, obviously, because it's so cold out in Iowa. And we're on the rowing machines. So we call those the ergs. And yeah, we just hit it every day on the ergs. Really, it's really mentally challenging. That's where it's like very mentally challenging. But that's when you get in your best top peak shape.
Okay.
So like you're spending, this is so hard for me to wrap my head around. Like how many hours in the wintertime are you training like on this erg machine?
So we have 20-hour weeks. So you train 20 hours a week. 3 of those hours are lifting.
Uh-huh.
So the other 17 hours is conditioning of some sort.
Wow.
Yeah. So typically I would say probably about 2.5 hours a day. And then that would be like, we do 2-a-days every day, but Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays we do 1 practice and Sundays are off. So yeah, it just kind of varies how much you do. Usually 2 hours on the erg a practice or on the motor.
I had to Google the erg machine. I was so curious, but it's like a pretty traditional rower, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
They're quite grueling.
Becca, you probably work out the most out of the 3 of us.
I mean,
and how many hours a week are you working out?
Let's call it like maybe 10.
10 hours.
And that's like
That's
on
a
a
lot.
good week.
On a good week.
Yeah.
I do like 3 hours walking mostly. So that's amazing. 20 hours is incredible. I know that we listed off a couple of kind of your big major wins, but I'd love to know what's kind of your best drop the mic moment, whether rowing or soccer, that kind of thing, just in sport?
In terms of sport, my best drop the mic moment, I think, would be playing soccer growing up. I had made the Rush national team, which is like this team of, they take the top 18, 2 teams of 18 from across the world, from the club, like the Rush Club. And I got to end up playing in Costa Rica with a bunch of girls, and we played against I want to say it was their under 23, like Costa Rica national team. So that was pretty cool. And we ended up beating them.
Awesome.
I went over and played in Costa Rica, played in France, played in Spain, kind of played all around the world. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
Really cool.
Yeah. Do you ever feel more legit as a soccer player than when you're like in Europe and like you're in South America?
Yes.
I mean, that just kind of feels like soccer, like haven, right?
Yes. Yeah. 100, especially in Europe. I went over there this summer, and, soccer, I went to one of the Euro games. Actually went with one of my teammates is from England, and she's a rower. She's a really good rower. And so I went over and we traveled, and I went to a Euro game. So that was pretty cool.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Okay. So just tell us, like, when you're in season, what your typical day's like.
Typical day in season. So if we're talking springtime, we usually, last year was really interesting. We traveled 7 weeks in a row straight. Like,
wow.
We were gone all the time, and it's kind of tough juggling 16 credit hours and traveling.
Right.
Wow.
A typical race week would look like lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. and then practice from 3:45 to like 6:30, 6:45 p.m. Tuesday is Tuesday mornings. So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then if we're traveling, we usually leave a Friday or Thursday, Friday, and then get home Sunday. So I guess it just depends on where you go. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask. So like, okay, so that's you're doing all of that, but like, how about like your classes and schedule for school and all of that stuff? I mean, that's only like a part of your day is the rowing. You still have academics to handle.
It is a lot to handle, but it's really, at Iowa, it's super nice. They give you an athletic academic advisor. And so all of your class times are all paired around like your practices. So you get like first choice when you get to get classes. So everything kind of works out well so that you can schedule yourself to have enough time in between practice, what works for you, what works best. And then anytime we're out and away, athletics is super good at communicating with like our professors and making sure that we get everything sorted. And if we miss exams, we can come back or we can take them early. It's actually really interesting. Big Tens is the same week as finals week. So we missed finals. I think we leave a Wednesday for Big Tens. And so, you are essentially missing half of finals. So we take all of our finals before we even leave. So then we can just have that whole week to focus on Big Tens.
I mean, that's nice that they give you that support to make that a little bit. I'm thinking back on my like college experience and how I very poorly managed what I had.
Doesn't sound exactly like your schedule.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But that's great that they have some support there, like a support system and kind of a liaison to help communicate to the people. So you're not stuck trying to juggle all of that.
Yeah, they really do have a really great support system. And you get tutors. Like if you need any tutors, you can get them just like that, which is obviously really beneficial because when you're, missing a lot of classes on the way, you definitely need tutors.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, you said you lift like weight training as part of your regular scheduled training. So is somebody like programming that for you, or is it just kind of an open gym situation?
Yeah, no, it's programmed. We lift at Carver Hawkeye Arena. We all say this, we have the best weights coach in the nation. He is so awesome. And just, rowing is, not a lot of people know about rowing, but he is like our biggest fan. His name is Cody Roberts. So he programs all of our lifts. We have a lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He gives us a sheet and like it has everything down to a T of what you're doing, how many reps in reserve. And then you just write down like what you do, the weight, and then try and, build off of that every week.
That's awesome.
Everything's sanctioned.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to shift gears. So if you have something related, okay. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about your hometown, in Kenny, Iowa. Was it a nice place to grow up?
Yeah, it was really nice. I love Ankeny. It is like I think it's like one of the top growing cities in the nation or something. That was a few years ago. I read that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's super nice. I think the greatest people. I went to Ankeny Centennial High School. Loved the high school. Loved the memories. Yeah, it's a pretty great place.
Well, one of the things we're always curious about is what do you remember most about the house that you grew up in? Kind of what sticks out? Is it the furniture, the paint, the front door, the yard? Anything?
I would say kind of a mixture. The yard would probably stick out the most. I was born and raised on, I think it's 60-acre farm.
Oh my gosh.
From the 1800s. So yeah, it's super nice. We have a lot of land to, I grew up like riding 4-wheelers around, and I was outside. We have a tree farm. So yeah, we have a pond in the back, a lot of fishing growing up. I was definitely an outdoorsy child.
So were you like destined to go to Iowa after you graduated? Like, was that just in the writing?
No, definitely not. My family is Iowa State fans.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like my entire family. I don't think, as far as I know, I don't know anyone that's gone to Iowa. Yeah, big Iowa State fans. So I was excited. Obviously, now they love Iowa.
Sure.
They're rowing. So yeah.
They had to expand their wardrobe a little bit, so for some black and gold.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I love that. So obviously this is a podcast about home, and one of our favorite questions to ask our guests is, do you remember the first time you were able to decorate your own room?
Yes. Yep.
Tell us about it.
I do. So I wanted to paint it blue. I'm not sure why I wanted to paint it blue. Like my soccer club I played for growing up was blue. Okay. So everything in the room was blue. At 17 years old, I didn't want everything in my room blue anymore when I was there. So I did change it back to like a lighter gray. But yeah, I had like a blue comforter. I had like anything you could think of blue. Blue curtains, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Wow. And your parents were like game for that. They were like, sure.
My parents are game for if we want to do something, like my parents like, yeah, let's make it happen. We'll figure it out. So yeah, I can remember my mom sitting. I had to help her, sit and paint the room. So yeah, they were game for it.
That's awesome.
I love it. I think that's the perfect color, and I would paint all my rooms blue in my house. My wife would let me.
Expect that from you, Tyler.
So what does your place look like now? How would you describe your style?
So I'm in an apartment. There's 5 of us girls. Okay. So we try to keep it cute. I'm a big fan of like the world. I love the world and anything world related. I'm just like I have that international relations minor. So I just love people from everywhere. So I mean, like I have globes everywhere in my room.
Yeah, nice.
Different types of like sayings that say like adventure awaits, and anything in relation to the world is kind of what my room looks like.
Kind of a world traveler aesthetic. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I've decorated it.
Have you collected things, like as you mentioned, you've traveled all of these places to play soccer. Have you collected things to then display in your home?
Yeah, so I have a lot of them are back at my house, like at home in Ankeny. Sure. So yeah, I've gotten like, the Big Ben. I have the Big Ben. Anywhere actually we travel, my family, we always get a Christmas ornament and then put it up. Like we have this tree that has Christmas ornaments from everywhere around the world that we've got.
Great idea. Yeah.
That's a fun idea. Yeah.
Yeah. A little touch. I also go to Ghana, and so I have like pictures hanging up from paintings. So every time I go, I get a new painting to hang up, which I think is kind of cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah. Why Ghana?
I went over there and I went on a mission trip. Ended up falling in love with it. And yeah, so I've gone 3 times. I wrote a grant in 2021, a $10,000 grant. And I now have 600 chickens over there. And I feed 450 students. So yeah, it's really cool. I went over and saw a need for a poultry farm, and yeah, now we're feeding kids. It's really cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, I know, I mean, you're quite the business person already. I mean, this endeavor, which is more along the lines of nonprofit work, but then your Unbreakable Female Athlete business. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but could you tell us a little bit about where that concept came from and what it does?
Yeah, so I'm huge into women empowerment. Obviously, as an athlete at Iowa, you know, you see the disparities amongst being a female athlete in comparison to the male athletics. And so, yeah, I just one day came home and wanted a shirt that just kind of symbolized being a female athlete. I will say I didn't start out thinking this was going to be a brand at all. I just made a shirt for myself and then showed up and my entire rowing team wanted a shirt. And that's kind of where it like spiraled. Is I made a TikTok and I got 58,000 views, almost 59,000 views. I'm not sure. And I woke up and I had like 80 orders of people who wanted the same shirt. And so it's continued to escalate and just kind of spiral into something bigger than I ever thought it would be. And so really my main mission is to cultivate a group of empowered women amongst the world. So yeah, I'm starting to expand in different areas. This summer when I went to England, I just collaborated with a brand called Rival Kit, which is a rowing brand that is throughout the UK. And they also have a few other different sports, but rowing is a main big one. And they just announced that they're the Head of the Charles kit sponsor this year. So they're now in the US. And so I'm their first US like collaboration. So yeah, now I'm in the UK, the US, trying to get to Canada. Yeah, I'm just trying to empower women. That's really my main goal.
That's amazing. So, you know, we were talking about all these things that you manage earlier on
in
our conversation,
and
add another thing to the mix. I'd say you're pretty unbreakable, huh?
Thank you. I try to be the epitome of it. If I'm going to wear the shirt, I try to, you know, rep it well. So
yeah, for sure.
I love this. Well, we need to start wrapping things up, but I do have a final super deep question for you. Jaecee, this episode will be out around Halloween. What's the most embarrassing or absurd character that you've dressed up as for a costume?
I think when I was 4, I was Batman. I wanted to be Batman. And my parents, I wanted to wear it everywhere. So I wore it to Hy-Vee in June. Like June, July.
This last June?
No, not this last. Yeah, no. When I was 4.
Well, okay.
I just continued to wear it past
throughout
Halloween.
The year. Yeah.
Yeah, just throughout the months. I think finally my mom was like, Jaecee, next we need a new costume. Yeah, I did continue to wear my Batman costume. And you know what? Why not go for it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you can be a superhero any day. It doesn't just have to be on Halloween.
Amen. I guess so.
After talking with you are a superhero to me, Jaecee. So thank you so much. This has been really fun. How can people stay connected with you, the NFM home team, endeavors that you've got going on, all of that?
Yeah, so Instagram is Jaecee Hall. I'm pretty sure all my social media is probably just Jaecee Hall. I think Twitter is Hall Jaecee. But yeah, look up Jaecee Hall and I think you'll find me and you can continue to stay along with the ride.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everyone who's listening at home and encourage you to go to nfm.com to learn more about our company and shop 24/7 for today's top furnishing styles. We'll be back again soon with another episode. Till then, remember, home is what you make it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to I Am Home with Tyler Weiskup, Hillary Waltemath, and Becca Sudbeck. If you like our show and want to know more, check out nfm.com or please leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice.